Live from the rooftop of the Hermann London Real Estate Group in beautiful downtown Maplewood, it's the St. Louis Realtor Podcast with your host, Adam Kruse.
Welcome everybody to the St. Louis Realtor Podcast, live from the rooftop of the Hermann London Real Estate Group in beautiful downtown Maplewood, Missouri. I'm Adam Kruse. Today is July 17th, 2018. I've got my co-host here, Shannon St. Pierre.
Hello.
Quick update on the goings-on here at Hermann London is we had our mid-year business planning event. We had a ton of good topics, a couple speakers, really good turnout from our agents, and everyone seemed to walk away motivated, which was great. We had an agent play on a golf tournament, and they won an award. I think it might have been for the highest score, but an award nonetheless. The property managers and the leasing department are staying incredibly busy. I think this is a popular time for people who are renting to be moving. And we are excited because we had a couple new agents join our team. And one's going to focus on commercial, and one guy's working with a lot of investors, joined us from another company. So we're pretty excited. Give us a call if you're interested in real estate or becoming a realtor with Hermann London. And we're both excited because we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Ted Wight.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
And if you don't know, you should, but Ted Wight is a very successful realtor from Dielmann Sotheby's, right?
Correct.
The king, can I call you the king of high-end real estate?
Well, I have a lot of wonderful properties, and some of them are high-end, some of them are just wonderful properties.
Wonderful properties. We had a listing, I think, 8 years ago or something like that we couldn't sell, and we referred it to you. You probably don't know this, but it was a sort of a weird mid-century modern house in Tower Grove. It had like the second story was a bedroom, and it had a hot tub in it.
Yeah, I always forget. Do you pronounce it Juniata or
I think that's right.
I don't.
Yeah.
No, it's Juniata.
Yeah, I can't believe you remember the street name. Yeah, but we wanted to bring you in here today because I think you list all sorts of interesting properties. You know, I love interviewing and learning from top agents in town. And we did a deal together recently, so I'm like, I did a deal with Ted Wight. This is something to be proud of. But I guess we just want to ask you a bunch of questions if you don't mind.
Sure, let's go at it.
Well, first of all, how long have you been a real estate agent?
I've sold real estate, I think like 14 years.
Okay.
I did it, I worked in corporate America, since graduating from college, and started selling real estate part-time, at first while I was, doing other jobs. I'd do evenings and weekends. And then I just, created enough momentum, felt comfortable with my income level that I was able to, quit my full-time job and just start doing real estate full-time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Did you start out you have a couple blogs, Shannon said. I know about one. Is it StLouis.Style?
Yeah.
StLouis.Style. Did you start out with that and kind of making a niche for yourself as this sort of unique property guy?
Yeah, when I started, again, this was a while ago, I guess. When was it? Early 2000s or so. And that I started reading some blogs that I really liked. They weren't necessarily real estate blogs, but I found it was sort of fun, when you're at your desk, you have a cup of coffee, and before you really want to start working, you browse through websites to see what's updated. So I began to think that it was a really great tool to communicate to people and start a following. And, it was focused on StLouis.Style, has evolved quite a bit. We do get about 1,000 readers a day.
Wow.
Which is really good.
Is that your original one?
Yeah.
Okay, so when he brings you up, I'm like, oh, the mid-century modern guy. Is that how you started out? Is that little niche, or am I totally off base?
Yeah, it was.
He's like, really? Is that what
okay, so I got into mid-century and contemporary homes. My parents had bought, I came from one of four boys. After all the boys moved out, they bought this little Bernoudy design mid-century home. And it really helped expose me to mid-century. I got excited about, design and clean lines. And, before I just loved pillars, would have, turned me on. But then as you get more educated and exposed, I really started appreciating mid-century. And, they always talk about in real estate where you should farm a specific neighborhood or have, sort of an expertise. So I started to go into mid-century talking about these architects that were local in St. Louis, taking pictures of mid-century things. So really sort of, became sort of the go-to place for mid-century and also contemporary homes.
Okay.
Did you start by just kind of looking up architects and calling them up and saying, "Can I take you to lunch and ask you questions?" Or
Yeah. So what did you go to school for? Was it
Well,
anything to do with?
No,
Okay.
not architecture. I mean, I think at one point I wanted to become an architect. I actually did like an internship in college down at HOK, Helmuth Bed and Casabam. But then I realized I wasn't a precise enough person to be an architect, and that most architects end up, planning air ducts, not designing a big, gorgeous, building. Mm-hmm. But what I did is I just started, researching some local architects in St. Louis, like William Bernoudy and Harris Armstrong and Ralph Fournier and Isadore Shank, and just sort of exposing people to their architecture. It's an effort to create that sort of expertise. It also created sort of a Google, I call it, when Googleability, when people are Googling Harris Armstrong, they would find my website. If they were Googling mid-century home, St. Louis, my website would come up on top. So it really did help build some momentum there. I found especially for like people that were moving in from other parts of the country that, it's hard to search the MLS for a contemporary home or a mid-century home.
Yeah, but the thing that I think that's interesting about it and why I clued in on that niche of yours is because there seems to be this huge following for mid-century modern homes. Like there's a whole club and they all kind of, I don't know, because, I just know about them, but it's not something that I dive into because I do so much in the city.
Yeah, and it is like, that's called like, there's an organization called ModernSTL.
Is that it? Is that...
Yeah, they have house parties and a website.
I think that's what I'm thinking of, yes.
But the whole effort is to sort of raise awareness to the sort of clean lines, open floor plan, but it's also to save these properties. When I first, I would say the late 1990s, early 2000s, that really nobody wanted these mid-century ranch homes. They were all being torn down really quickly because they had big lots and people thought they were ugly and, what they call them, ranch burgers or something like that. People were building these big McMansions. So I think, again, like in the, maybe right around 2000, people started, liking sort of the retro look of, mid-century homes. And then they started appreciating the big windows and
all the light and everything.
Yeah. If you look at, look what's popular now, like Dwell Magazine, which is clean lines. And I think it really appeals to, I think like the younger market appeals to because they love the clean lines and openness. And I think it appeals also to older people that are looking for single level living.
Yes, I could see that.
So I just have to say that, I consider myself to kind of be knowledgeable about real estate and whatever, but when I come into the MLS and I start looking at your listings and reading your marketing remarks and stuff, I literally feel like I'm tapping into this other world of real estate that I know nothing about. It's kind of interesting, and I like to learn and, always get better. And so if you don't mind, I was just going to read for the audience just a couple sentences from one of your listings.
Sure.
And I have to say there's words in here that I don't know what they are, and maybe you don't either. I wonder who writes these marketing remarks, if it's you or somebody else. But here's one of my favorite ones. This Frederick Dunn home was reimagined by the collaboration of Brian Smith, Jameson Interior Design, and Moynihan and Associates to create a neoclassical Regency experience with one-of-a-kind features throughout. The Sir John Soane-inspired residence, guided by the bisymmetrical philosophy, spans 13,000 square feet, and on it goes. But what is that?
That is a mouthful, isn't it? Probably most of that doesn't mean anything to people. But sometimes, like, in a description like that, you realize, well, I'm just not getting a standard house.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There
I think.
are, and I think if, like, people in the know, like Moynihan is like St. Louis's best landscape, architect. Okay. And Brian Smith is, well-known architect. So some people know, but in general, you know what it does? It just creates sort of an idea saying, my Lord, I'm just not buying a house,
Yeah, well, when you're spending $6 million,
who Sohn is, and they'll Google him and find out. Oh, wow,
so do you ask the sellers? How do you know when an architect has played a significant role, and then, or architects or landscapers? How do you know how much of a role they're playing? Are you specifically asking this and searching and asking the sellers this information to try and be able to write a more creative marketing remarks?
Usually, it has to be, a relatively well-known architect, even that I should even consider including it. Like Frederick Dunn is a well-known architect in St. Louis, so people may. But sometimes if you say, "Oh, designed by Harvey Hancock," unless that people really know who he is, it doesn't really. But a Frederick Dunn home, does carry extra value.
Do you find that people? I mean, this house was listed for almost $6 million, right? So, do you find that people in these price ranges just pay more attention to that kind of thing?
Well, I think it's just showing that this isn't just another mansion, that it really is,
or some cookie cutter.
Yeah, that this home really is a very special, and it's sold. It closes next week, so that's the
Exciting.
Good news.
That is the good news.
But I think it just helps create sort of showing that this is, again, not just a standard house.
That's where I think when you say stuff like...
This house has a pedigree. That's what you start.
Okay, okay.
I like that. So do you write your own marketing remarks?
I do. I think that one, I had help with from several people. In general, I do write them on my own. I find it's the hardest thing in the world, because in the MLS, which is our, where you load all your homes into the realtor system, I think you're bound by 1,000 characters.
Right.
Which is just exhausting sometimes, because especially a house like that, you want to go on and you want to talk about how, the stove is Sub-Zero and a Viking, rage, and you want to talk about all these things, and you're limited by characters.
And you don't need to talk about a stove being Sub-Zero when you have a pool house that echoes Queen Victoria's Brighton Pavilion.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I love it. I
right.
love some of
and
this.
I don't know.
This writing is. I think you have some really creative writing.
I think there's some people, look at real estate. There's, as you know, there's some people that just look at pictures. Like, I'm a visual person. I don't really read descriptions, when I'm looking at things, but I look at pictures. But I think there's a lot of people that want to, get the spirit of the home, and find out more about, are more detail oriented.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of your greatest strengths is capturing a spirit of, and in the marketing remarks. It's not about talking about the stove or some of the other aspects of the home, but capturing the spirit to draw them in. I think there's a few realtors in St. Louis, I guess, who are really good at actually writing remarks. Instead of just going off on listing just facts, they write more of a story. And yours is more of a story to kind of help draw you in. The rest of it will fall into place if you can just capture the attention.
I think you're right. I mean, people can look at pictures, and if you can tell that it's, granite counters, you don't really need to say it again. But what you may want to say is that, it's 2 blocks from the Metrolink, or... ride your bicycle to Forest Park, or, a variety of things that you can talk about that you can't see in pictures.
That the 4-car garage doubles as a covered valet drop-off for parties.
This
is awesome.
Which house is that?
That was the first time I've ever seen that. And the funny thing is the owners or the sellers designed it that way as a neat feature. They never really used it. But it's basically, think of like a tuck-under garage where you can drive in one door. And if you wanted to, you could have, if it's raining, they could drive in one door. The guests could get out. The valet then could take the car out a back door. So it sort of looped around.
I'm thoroughly impressed. Like, I didn't know that was a feature.
I didn't either.
Or even a thing, but I do now. And that might go on my list of dreams
Must
for my
haves
home. I'll
for
probably
your
never
home.
have.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's just, I mean, honestly, I think it's nice to hear that you didn't go to school for this stuff or whatever, because I think anyone who's listening can be motivated to say, anything I want to be interested in, I can read about, learn about it, and then be about it, right? So you're obviously spent a lot of time just kind of researching this stuff and talking to people to even be able to describe something as a neoclassical Regency.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's exciting. I think it's, again, part of our job as a realtor is to educate people, on, we take it back to
of home.
styles or why things are important or why, why it's important that, a house be preserved, and not, torn down. Maybe there's some history. It doesn't necessarily have to be mid-century, but it could be, just an important, home. So a lot of it's about education, the public. And, I got into real estate. I've always liked, homes, interior design, and gardening. And, I thought about becoming a realtor when I was, a lot younger, but it was like something, still wasn't a profession. You wanted to graduate from college and climb up that corporate ladder.
Yeah, until you realize the corporate ladder is... Yeah.
And then I realized that I wanted to have more control over my life, and I didn't want to wait for an extra week of vacation or getting a raise. And I found real estate was really that great, thing where really you're running your own business. I talked to some clients that say, okay, Ted, I'm 60 years old. If I lose my job, how hard it is to find have somebody hire, 60-year-old. But look, here in real estate, I have a feeling I'm going to be that 80-year-old man that, is still running around selling houses.
And you should be that.
Yeah, with a lot of realtors, there's kind of no reason to exactly retire, right?
No.
And then the first time you retire, you're going to see a for sale by owner sign or something like that come up in your neighbor's yard, and you're going to be like, I'm going to get that listing.
Yes. Or it's going to be that you have a friend that, that calls you and said, oh, Ted, you're the only one I want to use.
And what are you going to say?
I'm just going to get a chauffeur that will drive me around.
I like it.
And I'll look at the first floor, and I'll let them go up the stairs and down at the basement and report back to me.
Why do more realtors not do something like that? Do you or do you know anyone in town who has someone who kind of drives you guys around, you and your clients around?
Is that like the $1 million listing guy in New York? Like,
yeah,
is that
or
the guy?
they have like Sprinter vans and stuff now that are really nice. Why do you do anything like that?
I think that's I think it's a good idea that because that way you can sort of talk to your client. I haven't done it yet. I know that from our other Sotheby's affiliates, like out in California,
it's more popular.
Yeah, I think, or New York, like they'll do it because that way they don't have to worry about parking. They can get in and out of the car. But they're doing helicopter tours also out in San Diego. That's part of their standard thing is for people looking at the area. Well, they take people on a helicopter ride to get a feel for the area.
Okay, I like that. But I also think those are totally different markets. I mean, you're talking about both those cities you just mentioned have higher traffic volumes than St. Louis. We're still a very easy city to get around in.
I know.
I mean, within 15, 20 minutes, you can be anywhere.
If they were going to have a TV show in St. Louis with realtors, right, I think you would definitely be on it. $1 million listing agent, St. Louis, right? You'd definitely be on it. Do you watch that show at all?
I do,
on Bravo?
yes.
New York, LA, do you have a favorite?
I used to like LA, more and sing Malibu and all that stuff.
But which one of those people do you think you're kind of most like when you see how they run their businesses and
It'd
stuff?
probably be more like one of the New York, one of the New York guys.
Yeah, which one?
There.
Frederick? Ryan?
Yeah. Yes. All of them.
All of them? Okay.
All of them combined. Take the best features, and there you go.
Okay, so if you don't mind, we kind of want to ask a little bit about your business side too. We don't know exactly who our listenership is, but I know it's Aunt Marzi and members of the public and realtors and stuff listen too. And so you found a lot of success in the business, and I was just curious if you can tell us, do you have a team? I know you have at least an assistant, right?
Yeah, so I have there's different models out there. There's the model of like the realtor team where you have a few agents that work together. Mm-hmm. I haven't really gone that route as much. So I would consider myself more of an individual agent with a great support staff. So I have Claudia, who's a full-time agent license that she's my assistant. We have a great sort of a marketing, I call them my millennial marketers, that help me with the blogging.
That's a couple people?
Yeah, the blogging and Instagram. I still do a lot myself. Like I've gone, I really have adopted Instagram a great deal, so it gets a little crazy because now I have like 5 Instagram accounts that I'm managing. And you create any of these, it's like feed the monster. You've created it.
So why do you have 5 different Instagram accounts?
So I have like StLouis.Style that...
Do they coincide with all your different blogs too?
They do.
Okay.
So we try to have, again, original content on the blogs, but you can put something on Instagram and have it feed automatically to the blog and Facebook. So we have StLouis.Style, and then we have some micro sites for other areas that, I would say would be, that I focus on. One's Ladue Style, one's Clayton Style, one's CWE Style, and then I have my own individual, one.
So you have Ted Style. Yeah, so you have 5 blogs.
So Ted Wight, yeah. So, but it's, Instagramming is so easy because, like, I could be at the gym, I take a picture, I can load it up, and
it's automatically feeding to your site and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it makes it easy, and it just creates original, great content.
So each of those are just micro sites. So you focus on Ladue, just in Ladue areas. CW is Central West End, just around those specific neighborhoods. So
yeah, it's sort of like...
Why not have one now, though, that feeds into the one?
Well, we do have, like, StLouis.Style covers everything. But then we thought, Clayton Style would be good. We could talk about Clayton restaurants in particular, a Clayton home that sells. So it just creates, again, a little bit more expertise. But still, like, StLouis.Style is still, I call it the mothership.
Okay.
That gets everything. That gets Clayton homes. That gets Central West End homes. It gets, Ladue restaurants. It gets everything. So, but the idea is, and like StLouis.Style still gets the most readers. I mean, the blog gets about 1,000 people a day. The Instagram,
How often are you posting on the blog? I mean, when I looked on it
we try to do it once a day.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's, again, getting back to feed the monster. You can create these things. And are
you writing it, or are you enlisting your millennials,
I do.
as you just said, by the way? I didn't use that word.
Probably a lot of
millennial marketers. I create, I would say it's probably 50-50, that I'll create about 50% of the content. And then... are
you telling them what to, like a subject, a topic?
Yeah. I'll like hit an idea. I'll send them something and said, look at this. This is interesting. It talks about the most beautiful homes in St. Louis. Create a link, put it on the website. There's, I may get like a new listing, and it talks about, maybe down the Central West End, and I say, go research this, the architect, and try to find a little story on it.
So are these marketers actually work for you, or are you just...
They do work for me full time.
They are actually 100% your employees?
Yes.
Okay. So that's...
So it helps.
Good
again.
For
It's
Ted.
I know but it's sort of like, again, like, sometimes you look at these websites or blogs that last time they were updated was September.
Right, and it is really hard to do it all, especially when you're an agent. Like, so you're doing a million things.
Yeah, but it helps create. Basically it. We do it so that when you're Googling for Central West End homes or
you want to be there
mid-century, you want your websites to be on top, and these blogs tend to be a little bit more organic, and they, when you're Googling things, they pick up quicker than just I do have a standard like Ted Wight real estate website, but it's a little more static. These are a little bit more alive, with fresh content.
So, sometimes when you do a deal with a realtor, you do the whole deal with them. And sometimes when you do a deal with a realtor, you talk to them at the beginning, and then the rest of the time you're talking to someone on their team. My experience with you was that you were very involved the whole time. That we had a couple issues or whatever with our deal, right? And you were right there. You were there to help out. You made it happen. I'm kind of curious. Are you working tons and tons? Are you kind of like one of these 90 hours a week guys, or how are you doing that?
Well, I do try to stay involved with all of my deals and listings. So, and I say that it's sort of like, the benefit of me being an individual agent with a great support staff is that you're interacting with me, 90% of the time.
Right.
I always sort of relate it as like, sometimes these real estate teams, it feels like in college, when you had like a group project, and it's like,
I thought he was going to do that. I thought they were going to do
I know.
that.
Everybody thinks somebody else is doing the work, and then it's like nobody's doing the work, or one person's doing the work. And people check out sometimes when they know other people are doing it. So, I think that's the benefit of it being an individual agent, that I'm completely accountable. It's my responsibility. And but I do have a great support staff that they do help. And they do communicate. But you really have to stay involved. As you know, these deals are complicated, and
Sure.
you need to work through
Tensions
problems.
are high, and I mean, especially in these high-end properties, I'm guessing people have a lot of different personalities, and they're want to make sure they're getting what they're paying for, and all that kind of stuff.
And things, and I do, like, here, give you an example. There was a Central West End condo that I had that was supposed to close, a few days ago. And it seemed that the owner had left a bag of meat from the refrigerator on the hardwood floors.
What?
And it was over, we didn't discover it for about 10 days in this heat. So
This was your listing?
yes. And so it's like, we're really hands-on. I mean, I was the one that was discarding this bag of meat that had maggots on it.
Oh, my gosh.
And coordinating, getting the place fumigated, and now we've got to get the wood floors doing. So I really am hands-on. So to answer your question, I do work a lot. And it's always like last Saturday, I looked at my calendar, and I didn't have anything on my calendar, which was a real rarity. And I said, well, we've got a family farm. So I went to our farm, and I said, oh, my gosh, how nice. But that's a rarity. Usually, you are working all the time. I would say last night I was down at that same condo, vacuuming, till 8 o'clock.
Oh,
Wow.
so you do your
But at
own
the same
vacuuming.
time,
I'm
I think
impressed.
you work a lot, but then at the same time, the moment you're not working or it's quiet, you get very nervous. You think, oh my gosh, where's the business? So,
But I have to admit, the bag of meat, that's a new one.
yes.
You've seen it
It
all.
had to smell. Like, I think the trash
Oh
smells
no,
like-
it's impossible. So it's we're taking care of this problem.
And what do you do with the hardwood floor?
Well, you have to, we're looking for replacement boards right now, which
So
isn't
you
that
actually
easy.
have to replace the boards.
Yeah,
That's, wow.
I know.
That's not a small little task,
No.
by the way.
I see you when I go to my grocery store. I see you at the checkout thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, at the
And-
Richmond Heights Schnooks.
I'm at the Schnooks in Town and Country. I
Okay,
guess.
yeah, that one. Yes.
Yeah, uh-huh. And so I was curious, you obviously do that because I see that, but do you do other types of advertising in addition to the blog and the grocery store stuff?
Yeah, I do a lot of advertising. So, and it all costs a lot of money. So I believe it. Like, we do the traditional postcards, when we have listings or things are sold.
Do you mail the neighborhood around the listing, or do you have like a certain area that you're constantly mailing over and over again?
No, we do usually like a radius around the listing. I do a lot of print advertising still, like in our local like Ladue News and Sophisticated Living and St. Louis at Home magazine, and especially again, we had like that wonderful Brentmore Park listing that you read the description for. We had that. We put an Architectural Digest.
Oh, wow.
An ad. There's a regional ad you can do. So we do a lot, but it's really that these listings, are beautiful and they're unique, and they need to be pictured in order to catch people's attention.
So
Yeah.
do you do anything? So I think I've seen video. Do you typically do video for everyone?
I would say we do videos for special properties that I feel like are just not a standard, 4-bed, 2.5 bedroom, home. It's got to have like some, either decorated in an exceptional way or have just a beautiful home, and then it's worthwhile, videotaping. They, we have, like that we have a great listing up in Wild Horse Creek Valley that's on 75 acres. And a beautiful custom home that's built on it. And that we have like a drone video, because you really want to show the context of where the house is listed, and the spirit of it and what the views are like. And so
Wow.
I love that listing, by the way. I watched that video, and can you imagine you've been there, but can you imagine just pulling into that estate every day? That driveway is it a mile long?
Oh,
It
yes.
feels like it's a mile long driveway. You just pull up, and there's got to always be somebody there working, right? There's got to be someone there mowing or doing something.
They begin mowing the grass on Monday, and they end mowing the grass on Sunday, and they start all over again.
Uh-huh.
They need some goats.
I guess so.
I mean, get
Yeah,
some goats.
77 acres. But
some
so the
horses.
maintenance is crazy. But I love looking at these listings, and then I get out my mortgage calculator, and I'm like, oh, how much would the payment be?
Done that. I
It's-
don't do that
it's so interesting to me that there's people in town that are buying these kind of places, and Ted knows them, I guess.
And paying
it's
$50,000 a month for their mortgage. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
there is, like, I think in St. Louis that there is a lot of money in St. Louis, and St. Louis money traditionally has been a little quieter than other places
Yes.
in the country. Like that, like spending $5 million in a house, people may have the money to do it, but yet they think, well, I don't want to be, I
don't want everyone to know.
I don't want everybody to know, and I don't want to be, the most expensive house, in the neighborhood. But you can see, the money is there, and it's interesting. I go to with these Sotheby's, I go to some of their events, throughout the nation, and meet my, other people that are, in New York or San Francisco or Las Vegas, and it's so like there, it's like it all starts at $10 million,
Yes.
to get a small house. So we really are. St. Louis is still pretty affordable.
It's very affordable. I think it's very affordable on the scale of, and we still have a lot to offer as a city.
Oh yeah, it really, and it's easy to get around. There's so many wonderful things, but that whole idea is, I always say this: for $200,000, you can get a really great, well-built house like in St. Louis Hills, or out in the county. So you can afford a home. Other places of the country.
Now, did you grow up in St. Louis?
Yes.
Okay.
I saw you posted on Facebook recently. You live in some sort of architect's house, don't you?
Yeah, I live in.
Now that should not surprise anyone, though.
I live in a home designed by William Bernoudy, who studied underneath Frank Lloyd Wright, and I bought it for my mother about 6 years ago.
Okay.
She was ready to move.
Is that the house you grew up in?
No. Well, no. I came from one of four boys.
Uh-huh.
So this, my Bernoudy design house is relatively small. It's like the main house is about 1,500 square feet, on a slab. But it does have like a little guest house that's about maybe 600 square feet.
But it was Bernoudy, so you had to have it. You didn't care,
Yeah,
right?
it's perfect for me. I have two sons. One's 24 and one's 25. So the 25-year-old lives in the guest house, so it's really great.
He's loving that.
Well, yes. He used to live in this dingy Shaw, apartment, and now he's in this nice guest house. But it's nice for me because he's with me, but not with me. He's in a different house.
A little separation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's a beautiful home, and it's got great, it really helps me appreciate. And it's actually the home that William Bernoudy built and lived in himself.
Yes, okay, that's what I thought I saw in there. So, when you heard that, I'm sure you're like, I have to have this.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what part of town is that in?
It's in Ladue.
Okay. So before we forget, though, I just want to say, can you give your information so people can get a hold of you if they want to?
Sure. You can look at my websites. There's StLouis.Style.
Is it StLouis?
.style.
Okay.
You don't need a .com in there or anything like that. And that takes you to the main website. There's TedWightRealEstate.com.
Okay.
And my last name's spelled a little funny. It's Wight. And then you can also look at CWE Style, Ladue Style, and Clayton Style.
Or you can Google just Ted Wight.
Yes.
And it does come up. The main one comes up. Your main one comes up. And then you can get to all the other
But the last
websites.
name's spelled funny. Again, it's Wight. It's sort of a burden. It's like right without the R.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So, all right, I have 5 questions. We're kind of wrapping it up.
Sure.
We're kind of running out of time. I know you're a busy guy. You probably got to go get 10 more listings tonight. So I have 5 questions I like to ask every guest. Do you mind?
Sure.
Okay. Well, you already sort of answered this one, but who lives under your roof?
I live underneath my roof, and then my son lives underneath the guest house roof.
Okay. You're like, but I still own that roof, so it's...
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And where are you your best?
Where am I my best? I would say I'm in my best when, being enthusiastic about a home or a property. And again, it doesn't have to be a $5 million property. It could be, we all started the conversation about that weird little house on Juniata, that was designed by Adrian Lucchini. And it was weird and hard to sell, but we sold it. And
You went over there and probably got excited, and you thought, "Oh my God, look at this!"
yeah, it's getting excited about unique things. And I found that house, and it wasn't expensive, was it? I forget. It's like
I don't remember
$150,000
thinking it was. Yeah.
or something like that. But just has beautiful light. So that's one of my best. Is I'm excited about something. It could be the location. We sold a house up in Louisiana, Missouri. It's a beautiful Art Deco house perched on top of the Mississippi River bluff, and you have these gorgeous 180 view of the Mississippi going up and down, and that was not contemporary. It wasn't mid-century. It was Art Deco, but I was excited about the view.
You do a lot of driving around, I guess, if you have listings all the way out there. Didn't you have a castle in Pacific or something?
We have the Castle of Montebello down in Imperial.
Imperial, okay.
Which is a beautiful, it was done by one of the magic chef, stove heirs. And that, Imperial's not far away. It's only 30 minutes away.
Yeah, it's not far.
Last year, we sold an Episcopal church up in Clarksville, designed by Frederick Dunn, that somebody had turned into a home.
Oh, wow.
And we sold that last year.
Is the castle still on the market? Because my daughter might like that.
It is. It's on 60 acres, and Imperial is only 30 minutes away.
Ooh,
Imperial's where they have those car races, too.
I don't think she mows the grass yet, so until she can mow the grass.
There's a stables there, so does she want a horse?
Oh, yes, we love horse riding.
I saw this one when I was
do.
looking through your listings. I got to find that again and reread it.
So when you have the odd properties, not that the castle's odd, is the best
Interesting.
approach.
Let's call them interesting.
Yeah. But you used the word odd when you were coming in and talking it. So interesting, maybe not the norm. Is it the trick? Really, is to find something to get really excited about and really put that on the pedestal?
Yeah, it's all about
or what's the
picturing
tact?
it and creating the spirit of it. I'm trying to think the weirdest thing I've sold. I sold up in Louisiana, Missouri, up along we have a farm up in Pike County, so that's the reason why.
Okay.
Which is up near Clarksville in Louisiana.
Okay.
And it was an old water treatment plant tank that was turned into a house.
Ah, yes.
So we had an artist bought it. It was really cool. And sitting right on the Mississippi River. And it wasn't expensive again, but it was I could
Unique.
get passionate about it. And they had put it on a few of those HGTV shows like You Live in What and stuff like that. So it's just fun. Okay.
Well, I need to know, how do you price a lot of these houses that you have? Because you're not doing normal comps, right? You're not pulling a quarter-mile radius and getting the price per square foot,
that's a
right?
great
You have
question,
such
actually.
unique properties. How do you price these things?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of it's feel, this house feels like $1 million, or, it feels like, I would say again, that house we sold up in Louisiana that had a beautiful view of the Mississippi River. We sold it for over $500,000, which was really a big price for that.
there, yeah.
But
That
we
area.
thought, well, look at these views. You can't find these views anywhere else, and you can't find this house anywhere else. And price it somewhere. Sometimes you price something more because. It should have $1 million price tag on it. We had a big in the country. We had a big, 10,000 square foot turn of the century pillared home that was in pretty bad shape, but we priced it at $1 million because it looked like $1 million.
Mm-hmm. So for you, a lot of it is feel. And I guess growing up in the area and especially your 4 main areas or whatever, those really well. So you go to a house, you've probably seen it your whole life. I think on Worcester Road, there's all those huge houses. You probably just I could price each one of those suckers, right? You're like,
and those are easier to do. It's some of it's basic. You go down to regular ways of comping things. If it's a Ladue home or a town and country home, but it's these unique ones that are out.
Yeah, the Castle and Imperial.
Yeah,
you just had to come up with a price.
And then you sweat appraisals a little bit, but generally they work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be tough on the appraiser.
Yeah.
Even as well.
Yeah. And it's hard getting it through bank underwriting and all that. But, I think, again, you just sometimes you have to be a little bit more open-minded, on what you're appraising it to.
If people are buying these $2, $3, $4, $5 million properties, in your experience, are they often paying cash, or are they usually getting loans, or what are they doing?
I think that generally they get some sort of a loan. It may not be for the entire amount, but usually like 50%.
Okay.
That they'll get some sort of a loan.
It's hard to get a loan in that price range anyway, right? Is that why they're putting down such a big down payment?
Yeah, I think it is. And it's, the tax deductions have been cut back a little bit, on these, mega houses.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a favorite blog or podcast other than your own?
Favorite blog or podcast? Whose blog do I look at? I've got a little bit lazy, and so I'm doing more Instagram.
Okay.
Just because it's easier sort of to pull up, and I'm a little ADD, so I can flash through different accounts quickly. I sort of emulate. There's a great San Diego agent, Seth O'Byrne, is a Sotheby's.
That's a big person you follow on Instagram?
Yeah.
Seth, though?
Seth O'Byrne.
O'Byrne, okay.
And so I ran into him at a Sotheby's conference, and I was, I'm always trying to find out, it's great to steal from people, isn't it? Or try to find somebody that...
Yeah, learn from them.
You can learn from them. That's good.
Not steal, you just inspires you.
Yeah. But I thought what he was doing was different.
So when you met him, you were like celeb fan clubbing him? You're like, oh my God, Seth, you're the man.
Well, no, I saw him on a panel, and then I just started following everything that he was doing, and he did really cute things. He did this one thing where, he was dressed up as a dinosaur and shopping for a home in San Diego. So I just thought it was cute and different.
Okay, so why is dressing up as a dinosaur shopping for a home cute?
It's just quirky and fun.
Unique,
Check it out.
It stands out a little bit.
What was the purpose of the dinosaur? Was there a story with the dinosaur? Did you just go out and get a suit one day and go, I'm going to be a dinosaur? And take buyers out?
I forget what the scenario was. We did emulate it a little bit around the holidays. I had my assistants dress up in these little cardinal outfits, and we did like a little vignette of them shopping for a home, the Cardinal family. It's cute.
Oh,
if you go on my
Instagram,
little
birdhouse? Were they looking for a little birdhouse?
I think they ended up in a big mansion on Lindell, but but it was really cute. If you look, I think it was like in December, around Christmas. If you go on my Instagram, you can scroll down and find it.
Okay.
What's your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure is my guilty pleasure
that you're willing to share.
What is my guilty pleasure? I don't know. Ice cream? I don't know. I'm looking forward to maybe getting ice cream down the block here at the Waffle and Ice Cream place.
It's very good. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Well, I haven't been to this one in a while, but I would say anything with like mint and chocolate.
I heard that there's Clementines in town. They have naughty and nice. They have alcoholic ice cream. I haven't had it yet, but I want to.
Oh, I love Clementines.
Down in Lafayette Square.
And they have one in Des Moines.
Yeah.
A new location in Des Moines. And
that's probably closer to you.
Yes. Yum. I'm thinking about ice cream.
All right. Well, we'll let you out of here. We have one more question for you. Who is your mentor, and how have you thanked them?
Who is my mentor? I would say, over the years, I would say probably my broker, Andy Dielmann has been my mentor. I'm not the kind of agent that's moved around agencies a lot.
Yeah, everyone's always company jumping.
Yeah, I started at Blake and Davis, which isn't around anymore, but that was Andy Dielmann's, original agency, and then he sort of spun off and got the Sotheby's affiliate. So, and I think I thanked him by just getting a lot of great listings and selling a lot of homes and elevating the agency, as a whole.
Great. Now you just put that in Adam's head. He's like, yeah, that's what my agents need to be doing.
Sell.
Yes. Just sell, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Ted, for being here. And any
It was a pleasure. I'll come back sometime.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, next time I want to do it at one of these listings so we can be getting a little tour.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah. All right. And thank you, everybody, for listening. If you have any questions, comments, ideas, send them to podcast@hermanlondon.com. And thank you for listening, and take care.